So in 2015, 196 parties at the UN Climate Change Conference, that's COP21 in Paris, which many people have heard of, they signed off on this agreement to keep temperatures below 2-degree increase. How are we doing?
Yeah, we're not doing so great. So there are interim targets as well, which means that 2 degrees is the end of the century. But 1.5 was the initial target, which means that we did not want the global average temperature to rise by 1.5 degrees. From pre-industrial averages. So that was the baseline, and that 1.5 degrees Celsius was like sort of like during the 21st century, and we did not want to hit that. But unfortunately, new data is suggesting that we might be looking at hitting that 1.5-degree rise within the next 5 years.
And in simple terms, what does this mean for the average person? How will we notice that?
Yeah, so it varies globally, but if you want to bring it down to Canada, we have already seen an earlier commencement of what we typically call summer. So yesterday was the first day official start of summer, but it's been feeling like that for a few months now, for a few weeks now, and especially in Ontario, we're looking at hotter days, longer sort of heat waves. We're looking at, because as a result of that, those heat waves and higher temperatures, we're looking at more thunderstorms and downpouring. And it's just more extremes, right? When it's getting hot, it's going to get hotter for longer periods of times, and then it's going to shower like crazy. So yeah, we're used to heat, and we've a certain amount of heat and a certain amount of rain, but we're going to see more of those swings, and we're going to see those swings more frequently and more intensely.
So what we experienced this week, we can expect multiple times this
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah, this year is further exacerbated by, so we've heard of the El Nino affecting our winters, which is why we had milder winters than usual. And what usually follows the El Nino is a La Niña, and that sort of tempers hotter temperatures that we've experienced since last year. But the swing, so when it's transitioning to the La Nina, those summers tend to be typically hotter. And because of climate change, what we're seeing is this interim period is hotter than usual. It can almost add, and this is like research that states that summers between El Nino and La Nina have higher than average temperatures, but it brings the same heat that 10 years of human-caused global warming can add to the planet. So we're definitely feeling the impacts of that right now, and we're going to see those heat waves becoming more frequent and more intense and longer, unfortunately.
I also understand that the 1.5 holds significance because if we do go past that threshold, we're actually in a place where it's irreversible for us.
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say that the closer we're getting to that, there is, and no pun intended, a certain amount of climate change impacts that are baked in. So while we are doing everything that is currently possible, I'm not going to say necessary, possible to reduce emissions and reduce how much global warming we're going to cause in the future, there is a certain amount of global warming impacts that we are definitely going to see that we're not used to.
Now, I was thinking about this the other day, but to beat the heat, I'm cranking up my air conditioner even higher, and that seems counterintuitive.
It does, but what can we do? Like
I don't know.
that's the first sort of fallback, right? I mean, it's hot and you're flustered and your kids are hot or whatever, and you crank up the AC, and that is unfortunately like adding, because everybody's doing that. It's not just me and you, it's everybody's doing that, and that adds to the load on the electricity grid. And as a result, it can lead to more brownouts and blackout periods because more people are consuming more electricity as a result of the extended heat.
The city released its climate mitigation report, and you and I have chatted about this a bit, but you're saying that Windsor is actually at the forefront of what it's doing?
So I believe we were looking at in terms of policy. So in terms of policy, I think the city staff have done quite a bit in getting ahead of establishing those, the climate adaptation strategy and the corporate climate policy and the community climate action policy. So they've got a few, and they're heavily invested in this deep energy retrofits program, which is they're trying to bring a lot of energy saving and emission saving technology to homes. But I believe that population increase and as well as, sort of faltering political support might not be helping with keeping those sort of targets and the targets in those plans up.
What more needs to be done? And I know like
Yeah.
that's a big question.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that I feel like short and midterm, what we need to do might be more adaptation and resilience focused. So understanding that a certain amount of climate change is going to occur, that these danger summers or danger seasons that, because these summers are not gradually changing over a long period of time. They're happening very quickly and they're happening at a pace that is unusual and to a lot of people who've lived for a long time in this region. So we need to personally first prepare to and make sure that we're prepared when it comes to summer. Stay in your basements. Maybe don't immediately crank up the ACs, but also in terms of your workers and schools, like we need to make sure there's cooling centers and there's ways for schools to be cooled in the summers. Misters in high density traffic areas, greenhouses, and workers in those situations maybe having extreme heat policies and heat limits where beyond which it's dangerous for workers to work. We're also looking at healthcare. So we need to make sure that people in vulnerable areas and high density areas where there's not a lot of greenery in cityscapes, there's a lot more heat. And if they are in vulnerable areas, then what is it that we need to do to sort of protect them and make sure healthcare is available?
All right. Thank you so much.